Hey, good morning. Hopefully everything is going good. Let's see here. My name is Maria, and I am going to tell you some more about paint parties. It's a Friday morning. Look at how dark it's still outside. I was trying to think of what time would be best to go live for our audience. And if you're looking to do a part-time paint party business, I'm thinking, well, you might be, it's only January 3rd, so you might not be running kids out first back to school after the break. But I thought a Friday morning, you could be going on a walk, a run, or something. I just got back from yoga. And so, as you can see, I'm like coming in hot. Um, but anyway, welcome to this video about supplies this morning. My name is Maria, and I have been doing part-time paint parties and actually, I need to record this. Give me 1 second. So my name is Maria, and I have been doing part-time paint parties for over 14 years. I'm the founder of Gallery on the Go. You can go look at our website, galleryonthego.com. And we also have what's called the Artsy Association, which is likely how you found us. And the Artsy Association was something that we started back in 2018 to help those of you who do paint parties to have encouragement, to find resources, to get some training. And what we're doing now is this series to help you kickstart a paint party business in the new year, if that's in the cards for you. What we do know is like right now there are, it's high inflation and we know the cost of everything is going up. And I started this, 14 years ago as a part-time thing to stay home with my boys who were in middle school at the time. My boys now are grown up. I actually have two grandbabies and they're grown up. They're all on their own. And I still do paint parties and I still do them part-time. And so over the years, I started, in the accounting world. I was doing bookkeeping. I've always loved business. That's my number one heart, of course, there. And so when the world of art and business kind of collided, it's just the perfect mix for me. And so I love teaching women, especially. And of course, there are men in the paint party industry as well. So men, you too. But there are a lot of people like myself who want to stay home with their kids or need to make part-time extra money, or maybe you're looking to build up something as you look to retire. I have so many people in my life who are heading towards retirement already and just looking for something else to do. And so I know it can be daunting because you think, well, maybe I need to be an artist or something like that. And that isn't the case at all. And I'm going to be doing another video coming up soon about like what do you need to, what kind of person should you be if you want to do painting parties? If you're not an artist, there are some other key talents and things, but we can train you on anything. At Artsy, that's what we believe is we creatively teach you how to make money using art. But that's through events and activities. And so there are some other skill sets that you should have, and we can help you develop them. You don't have to be exactly who you're going to be, 14 years later when you're still doing paint parties. I certainly didn't look like this, and my office didn't look like this, and I wasn't super artsy like this 14 years ago when I look back. And so in this video today, I'm going to talk to you about the supply must-haves, and I'm going to tell you some supply pitfalls to avoid. And so I'm going to pull up my screen here so that I can kind of show you. And I actually have some of my supplies right here if you're here for the big press and seal reveal. I can't wait to show you that. So let's just get started. I'm talking about a basic painter setup. So let me go ahead and share my screen for you and we can get that going. All right. So what you see on screen now is a conference room, actually looks like a hotel room, that is set up, and it's set up for quite a few painters. I mean, just by the looks of it, it looks like 10, 20, 30, 40, 40 painters. And so pretty large event here. If you're just starting out your paint party business, I would recommend you start out, like 10 to 12 is always how we recommend that you start out. But hey, I coached a woman who was her very first party that she booked at some bar ended up being like 40 people. I was like, oh dear God, I don't know how you're going to do that. But what you see on the screen here is about 40 people. And so I'm just going to show you, this is exactly what a setup looks like. If you were to go set up in a conference room, if you were going to go set up at a dining room table, this is what it would look like. You have these plastic tablecloths. Now, I will tell you, I try to be very eco-friendly as much as possible. I do still use plastic tablecloths In some cases, I'm able to recycle them or repurpose them. We do have some demonstrators who use uh, like plastic lined tablecloths, and then they just can reuse them over and over again. But honestly, when you start painting with kids and stuff like that, I just like it to look kind of clean. So this is the one area where you will be throwing plastic away. But other than that, we try to use all of our supplies over and over and over again because it's just better for the economy, but also it's better for the experience. Okay. So you're not going to find me ever coaching you to use paper plates and plastic cup or disposable cups. Okay. We are using plastic cups, but I've been using my cups for 14 years. Isn't that amazing? So I love when things last. Actually, I would say like 12 years by the time we actually got printed ones. So anyway, what you see in this room here, and this is what we call a basic painter setup. And it's really like these 5 things that you need for a basic painter setup. It's an apron, an easel, a palette, a water cup, and a 5-piece brush set. You see all of those things. I guess you do see the brushes here. Now, if you notice in this painting, she's only put out 2 paint brushes here. For whatever reason, this painting is only going to need those 2 brushes there. But we do recommend that you have at minimum 5, and I'll tell you more about that here in a second. What you also see here is, of course, you need canvas. Everybody needs a canvas panel or board. I will be doing a board painting party tutorial, I think next Sunday, where I will teach you how you can start your business with painting on boards, and then you can eliminate the easels for a little bit if you're trying to build up your supply kit. So then you have your canvas boards or panels, and I'm going to talk to you more about our logic behind painting on canvas boards. Then you need acrylic paint. You need paper towels or napkins, and you need a demo easel. If you see in this picture here, she has 2 demo easels. One in the corner here is displaying the paint sample, and then one at the front of the room where she will be standing to demonstrate her painting party. So this is I love this picture. It's a great example of what it should look like. It's fun, it's colorful. As soon as your guests arrive, you have transformed the room into a gallery of sorts, right? A studio, into an art studio. And by having those colored aprons and easels, it just elevates the experience. So can you paint without easels? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Can you paint with paper plates? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Can you paint with red Solo cups? Absolutely. You absolutely can. But it doesn't look like a genuine art experience. So if you're going to take any tips from me, just know that I'm going to help you to elevate your experience, to set you apart from other people who do this, and to really just elevate the experience. Is it a little bit more work? Absolutely, it is. And you're preserving the environment and you're just elevating the experience, but it is some work. And I will tell you, I have a 200-person party coming up this month, 200. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to use some disposable items. So for sure, that's not always going to be the perfect case. All right. So from day one, okay, from the very first day that I decided that I wanted to do a paint party, I started building my kit to start looking like this. So let's talk about the brushes first. So at Gallery on the Go, we started this system right from the beginning. Now, honestly, we bought our brushes first for Michael's because this was an experiment at first, right? So I went and bought plastic brushes, plastic handled brushes from Michael's. They were absolutely my favorite. They were from Artist Loft. And I always tell this really funny story, but when I first started, my sister-in-law both started, we actually shared a kit. My sister-in-law and I used the same supplies, and we just borrowed them back and forth from each other while we continued to build up our kit because we didn't have a lot of money to start this. And so we shared a kit. So that's a great advice. If you want to start this business, start it with a friend. And we bought these plastic brushes from Artist Loft. Well, of course, all the handles were blue. So when brushes are inside of water, which I just so happen to have right here in front of me, right? If your brushes are inside of the water, they're all the same color, right? If you're just buying them from the store. But when you're painting with kids or you're painting with adults, and you can say something like, take out the purple brush, use the blue brush, use the green brush, right? Because they're swimming in the water. You can't say use the big fat brush or use the, we call this Dainty Darla, the tiny little black brush here. And so, So we invented this system, and before we had them professionally custom made, from a brush company, we used to just use duct tape. Yeah, we used duct tape. We were that fancy. And so we got purple duct tape, red duct tape, and honestly, these are the same exact colors that we've always had. We actually used to have an orange brush too. And so as Gallery on the Go grew and we found out how to have our own distributors and make our own products, we found somebody who would dip them for us, and they were professional. And so you can see them here. Now, if you're an Artsy member, you can buy these brushes directly from us. So when you're an Artsy member, you can buy your own brushes, and they last long. We believe that they should be plastic tipped. Now, they swim in water all the time, right? And these brushes are pretty well loved, and these are clean, believe it or not. So plastic, never you buy wood brushes. Okay. Now I know some people who are just disposable, buy little cheap wood brushes that will do the trick for one paint party. And then they leave them with the customers, and then they throw them away because they don't want to wash brushes. You're right. It takes time to wash brushes. I get that. So if you're going to buy more time, which is fine, but you're also just ruining resources in the world. It's just a passion of mine. So I think if you're in this for the long haul, I would say over the course of my career, I've probably had, out of 14 years, I've probably had 4 sets of brushes in 14 years, 4 sets of brushes. Now, right now, because I do some fairly large events, I have about 50 to 60 sets of these brushes. And I have this 200-person event coming up. So I got to figure something out there. I'm going to borrow some supplies from other reps in my area. But anyhow, so the brushes, the other thing I was going to say is if you're not an Artsy member yet, yeah, because you'll be an Artsy member one day, you can still buy those brushes. And I will pop the link in the comments here coming up in the description here in the video. They're just a little bit more for you. So they're $7 a set of 5, or they're $4.50 if you're a member. So you get quite a bit, almost a 50% savings when you're a member, and we'll ship those out to you. And you do need to buy them in a minimum quantity of 20 or 25. I can't remember. And so that's because you'll be building up your setups. That's right. All right. So let me know any questions you might have in the comments. If you have any questions, yeah, let me know and I will get back to you. All right, let's talk about paint. From day one, I used Dick Blick paint from day one. And the reason is I went to my very first paint and sip at Canvas and Cocktails, which is a local place here in my town, which is about like 45 minutes away from my town. And I didn't know anything about painting. I didn't even know what kind of paint. I didn't even know what acrylic paint was. And so I just kind of spied on what they were using, and they used Blick acrylic. And so I Googled Dick Blick or Blick acrylic, whatever it was called at the time. And I just learned that student grade paint is the best paint to use at paint parties. You're not trying to turn anyone into an artist here, right? So you're not using fancy paint, fancy colors. Now, when you are just starting out, there is nothing wrong with buying just basic colors. Now, when you buy from Blick acrylic or Dick Blick, and that's dickblick.com, they sell like these 6-packs that come with your basic colors. And we have discount codes for some of these for our members, but it's like white, yellow, red, blue, green, and black. Those are your like basic primary colors. It's not the picture that you see here. It looks very similar. But anyhow, those colors can make any color. So there's really no reason for you to go buy all the neon colors and the teals and the pinks and the da-da-da. As you're starting, as you're building your business, you can certainly start to add more colors. But I will tell you, just paralyze your customers sometimes when there's too many options. And depending on what painting you're going to pick, which in a week or so, I'm going to be doing a video called Painting Must-Haves. That way you can set up palettes easily. You use every color in the rainbow. It's not a lot of thought process. Now, I know some other people teach to use like the 2-ounce bottles. You can easily buy 2-ounce bottles from the dollar store, from Walmart, big box stores, things like that. Again, I love the environment, and I think you're going to be doing large painting parties. I don't think that you should be using the little 2-ounce. Now, do I never use 2 ounce? Of course I do, because sometimes there's some awesome colors in there, especially if I'm painting the Grinch or something like with a special color. Actually, Dick Blick has a great Grinch color, so I ended up buying that from them. But little like gold or silver or metallics, when I'm doing special parties, absolutely I use those 2 ounce. I started to use some more of those 2 ounce bottles, and then I started throwing the plastic away and I was going crazy. So I don't recommend that. Now, the other thing I want to say about paint, and let me grab my bag so I can show you. Um, Something that I did learn early on was, and this is my paint bag, which I'm going to share more about with you in a second. This is a quart of paint, a quart, and then this is a pint. Okay, so the picture that you see on the screen, and I don't know if you can see me here, is I when you're really busy, well, first of all, I always recommend quart size white and black paint. But because I buy the 6 pack quite a bit, I have a lot of pints. Remember, and by the way, I don't know if I've ever said this in my videos, but I teach you how to have a mobile paint party business, right? And so when you're mobile and you're going into people's houses and you're schlepping your stuff all over the place, like if you're going to take all quarts, that's heavy, right? So that's why I recommend pints. However, if you, and what I do is you can always buy quarts. Of course, you're going to save money when you buy quarts. You always save more when you buy larger sizes, including gallons, and you're super swamped. You can always refill the bottles too. I don't recommend refilling them too many times. Paint can go bad and it could start to smell. That's how you'll know when it's gone bad. The yellow and the purple notoriously go bad faster than the other colors. You will definitely go through more white and black paint, depending on what you're painting a lot of in the wintertime, especially like Christmas time, things like that. We go through a lot of blue. Or I go through a lot of blue, I should say. So yeah, so that's a little bit more about paint. I'm going to tell you some pitfalls to avoid here in a minute. The next thing I want to talk to you about are palettes. From day one, we've always used plastic palettes because it was just part of the experience. I remember that first paint party and we got our cute little palettes and you just felt like an artist, right? And that's why I hate paper plates, like with a passion, because it takes away from the experience. Like if you've never painted before, and you come now, some paint and sip venues, they use like chipboard and I get it. Like, but again, I think it's just kind of lazy. But I love the experience. So I always recommend the 10 well palette. That's what you would call it. Super affordable. You can find them on Amazon. They're no longer expensive or anything. There's some fun, cute little kidney bean shaped ones. I don't ever use the flat wood ones. The reason I like the wells with the holes that you see here on the screen is because it contains the paint. And when you use a paper plate or you use a flat surface, the paint just spreads and spreads and spreads and bleeds into the other colors. And this also helps your customers not pour too much paint. They will still pour too much paint here. I always recommend you pour the paint. And it's just better. So about 3 or 4 years in, I'm going to tell you about the press and seal here in a second. It's like a secret trick. But it didn't happen right away. I used to actually wash every single pellet, which that was definitely working harder, not smarter. So I will teach you the press and seal trick. Then you see these black cups here. So from day one, it wasn't from day one. From day one, we definitely used, I think we thought we'd be cute and use like mason jars. That was the worst idea ever, right? Because mason jars are glass and you're mobile. That doesn't make any sense. It was super cute, but did not make any sense. So we, of course, started using plastic cups. And I'm not sure at what point, what plastic cups we used, but at some point in Gallery on the Go, we started printing our own cups and we used black. And that was just our thing, black cups. We kind of had black cups and black aprons at the time. And they still are imprinted with Gallery on the Go, which I love so much. And so black cups are great. It kind of helps when customers are drinking wine or anything like that. Like it's kind of like this is not the cup. So if you are using like red Solo cups or things like that, and your guests are also drinking out of red Solo cups, yeah, people are drinking a lot of paint water. So that's kind of, I don't know that we had any method to picking black, but that is something that we've always had. Now, over time, because I don't have them necessarily printed anymore, we've bought colored cups, these colored cups from Amazon, super fast and easy. And as you can see, well loved. Some people ask, like, how often do you wash your cups? I wash them about every 4 times, about once a month or something like that. You could wash them because they do start to smell and are gross. And so you want to be presentable. Like it's an experience, right? Having a paint studio with paint stuff on it, but you don't want to be gross and smell. All right, let's talk about canvas panels. From day one, we've always used canvas panels. So I remember when I went first to the paint and sip place that we went to, they were painting on 16 by 20 wrapped canvas. Definitely great to paint on bigger canvas. But when you are mobile, you're not in a studio, you're around a dining table, you want to fit 4 to 6 people at a dining table. And the 16 by 20 were just too big. And it takes more paint, it takes bigger brushes, it takes more time, right? And so we downgraded our canvas to an 11 by 14. We made it flat panel because it also fit on our easel better, especially if you're going to be mobile. You're not going to have really large easels. Now this one's fairly large. This is a 14, I want to say 14 inch. This could probably hold a 16 by 20 canvas. But the other part is you're mobile, and wrapped canvas has the opportunity to get punctured. And that's a waste of time and also just car space. If you have a paint party of 20 and you're toting around 20 wrapped canvas panels, there's just an opportunity for damage. So we like flat panel canvas, and we always recommended that our guests put them in a frame. And so actually you can see some of my paintings, maybe not. Oh, I have one up here. Anyhow, that we put, let me grab it for you so you can see it. So this is a great example of one of our paintings. It's a flat panel, and we just put them in open back frames. And so by doing that, yeah, your customer, it ends up costing a little bit more. We used to actually sell frames at the party itself, but I don't do that anymore. It's not that I don't recommend it. I do recommend it. Actually, it's a great upsell at the party. I just personally stopped doing that. Anyhow, then let's get to the aprons. So aprons, when we very first started, I love to tell this story. I actually just bought black aprons from Sam's Club because they were the best price. There were 3 in a pack. They have these awesome pockets, and I love black. That's actually my favorite color. And so we just had black ones, and we got them embroidered, and very similar to what you see here on the screen. And but as time went on, I really decided that we wanted colored aprons, and colored aprons, like that picture that I showed you, really made the room pop. And so there's they're pretty cheapy ones on Amazon, great to get started. But over time, we have a supplier that we use that has better quality aprons, and they also can embroider them, and the double pockets and things like that. Aprons can last a really long time. The ones I originally had from with Gallery on the Go, on the Gallery on the Go brand, I still have to this day. The cheapier ones that I buy from Amazon, or the kid ones, they start to get, really chintzy and start to pull the strings and things like that. So if you're just getting started, you can buy black and white ones, chef ones at, Sam's Club, Costco, things like that. But now with Amazon, you guys can buy anything and everything, of course. So that's from day one. Those are some of my basic supply tips from day one that I've been using. I still have my same palettes, never have to keep buying. I do buy more palettes because I have more customers. I have updated some of my cups just because I needed more cups. We're going to talk about easels here in a second, because I did not start out from day one with the easels I recommend. So this is where I'm going to tell you about some pitfalls, what we learned along the way. So what I learned along the way when it comes to paint was I thought it would just be better to have gallons, or I thought it would be great to have pumps. And I loved having pumps, at the paint studio. But when you're mobile and you're not doing it every single day, and you leave your paint in your garage or something, the paint pumps get plugged, and they're awful. And I cannot tell you how many times we would pump and the paint would just splat everywhere in the room. So you don't want to do paint pumps. I don't recommend necessarily buying gallon or pint unless or I don't recommend buying gallon unless you're just going to use it to refill, because it's just too heavy. And I've already told you about the 2-ounce paints that I don't recommend. I also already told you no wood on brushes, right? So it might feel like a genuine experience, but when they're soaking in so much water and high use, you really need student grade. And one of our suppliers is Royal Langnickel. And they had this great plastic classroom kit style brushes, because you need brushes that will be able to have high use, and the brushes need to be able to last a very long time. Otherwise, you're going to keep buying brushes and you don't want to do that. Also, I recommend having the same consistent sizes. So when you are with Artsy and representing Gallery on the Go, if you decide to represent Gallery on the Go, all of our paintings have instructions, right? That with their step-by-step instructions. So they're like, use the purple brush, use the red brush, dip the purple brush in red paint, and that's how you know the instructions. And by using our same consistent sizes, you're going to get familiar. So I know you're going to want to like stray into like some froofy brushes, like the fan brush or something like that, which you can if you have certain paintings that do that. But I have learned, and take it from me, that flat and rounds are plenty for the experience that you're trying to provide. Remember, we're not trying to turn anyone into an artist. We're simply using art as entertainment. Also, I've already hounded you about the paper plates versus palettes, real cups versus plastic cups. I've talked about that. The other reason I don't like to use like red Solo cups, for example, is the weight of them they topple over a little bit more. And so that's why we recommend like a wider base cup so that they don't topple over. You don't want like thinner cups because they can tip over. Another thing I want to tell you, do want to wash your aprons. I use Febreze most of the time on my aprons until I do a good wash on them. When you wash them, you want to use like a laundry bag. You want to tie each apron up, because what happens is it turns into one huge knotted mess. Or, do like 5 or 10 at a time. Don't wash like, I have like 50, I have over 100 aprons, I should say. You don't want to wash them all at once because they get so knotted up. So that's a tip there, but definitely wash them, keep them clean. And then once upon a time, well, and we still do, I still own canvas drop cloths. I do not tell my customers I offer them anymore, because canvas drop cloths, I just don't recommend painting in someone's living room as much as before. You can have a canvas drop cloth, but oftentimes they're tripping hazards. I have a couple of clients who need to put stuff down, and they do it. They put the plastic down. They do that. It's so labor intensive to put the canvas drop cloths down. I still have them for those parties every now and then, but when my customer really asks for that, I'm like, you need to either do it yourself, or I just tell them it's actually more of a tripping hazard. I do paint in these really large hotel rooms, but I do have insurance, and they have carpet squares in there, which is great in case we spill any paint. And so, yeah, of course, it's always a risk. I just always try to make a point to try to paint on a hard surface, kitchen floors, garage floors, basements, things like that, where you're not going to drip a lot of paint. Now, the other pitfall on the easels, the very first time we started, those little wood easels are just so darn cute, right? And that's what we originally bought when we were at Michael's. So I would say it was like this one here. If the pointer on my screen is working, it's this one that says like US Art Supply. It's more of like that square kind of one. Well, there's a couple square ones, but anyhow, they were like cheap at Michael's. They were like $9.99. And I don't think I finished that story, but at the beginning, when we started this business, my sister-in-law shared our kit. My kids and I have 3 sons, and my sister-in-law had 2 kids at the time. We would go to Michael's and make every kid pay 50% off for like a set of brushes or an easel until we built up our kit. But those little wood ones were super cute in the beginning, but over time they break, the screws come loose, and they just don't last as long. So we highly recommend the 2 that you see here are our 2 that we recommend. These are the ones I've had once I decided I would use metal easels. They fold up really nice. Be careful because they will pinch you. These are my favorites. A lot of our reps, and they just became a lot more popular, are these black ones. They're just a little bit shorter so people can see each other over the table. But they have these wings. So like if you end up needing wings or wing support for like a bigger canvas, or if you needed to make them taller for the board parties or something like that, you could do that as well. So when it comes to buying supplies, like I always recommend that you buy like 10 to 12 setups to get started. And I think I have some tips here. I'll get to that here in a second, but to build up your kit, have a party, buy 1 or 2 more setups, keep using your money that you earn to keep adding to your setup, especially if you don't have a lot of money to start up with. All right, this is the fun part. Let me give you some miscellaneous tips. First of all, tote bags. You got to tote your stuff into and out of parties, right? So I recommend simple tote bags like these. Back in the day, like 31 had these style of bags. I still have all my bags. This is what I use to this day. Now, I will say at the very beginning, we used a plastic tote. It was huge. It was insane. And then over like 2 years in, I think we changed over these tote bags, which are far better. You really only need about two of them. And then I have this tote bag, which is my paint bag. And it's logoed and branded. And it has a bunch of little pockets, but then I have all my paint in the top. So, and I'll go full screen here in a minute and show you that. But in my little paint bag, I have always carry with me painter's tape, scissors, Sharpies. I put my business cards in there and my pencils. I have some cute little stickers. Those little pockets kind of hold, it's like a little utility tote. That's the better term for it. And that's also where I keep all my paint. So that's nice. During, summer and winter, we always recommend that you bring your paint in sometimes your garage is okay, but depending on what parts of the country you live in, you need to bring it inside. You don't want your paint to ever freeze or get too hot. It gets clumpy if it gets too hot, and then obviously it freezes when it's winter. So having it in a separate bag, to bring in and out wherever you're storing your supplies. I store a lot of my supplies in my garage and also in my basement, and maybe one day I'll do a video about that. All right, the other miscellaneous tips, tablecloths, of course, the enemy of the world environment, but it is a necessary evil. So I tend to always have rolls of tablecloths, far more cheaper, far better. I buy the ones from Hobby Lobby personally. They just feel thicker. I know you're going to be tempted to go to the dollar store, even the Walmart ones. They're just so thin. And when you're dealing with kids, they're like picking at it and things like that. Now, all of it's just plastic, whatever. It doesn't need to be like the best quality. But the rolls will just, in the long run, save you more money. I typically like to keep the same colors. I use teal, red, and blue. Now I do have an event where we always only use white tablecloths, and they're the rounds, and I buy those in bulk on Amazon. So you can definitely buy bulk tablecloths ahead of time as well. All right. So the fun part, actually, I think I skipped talking about dirty cups and brushes. So you always need to take either a tote or something to carry your dirty items back. I put my dirty brushes inside of a pitcher. And then I keep the pitcher in my car. I have a little nook in the trunk of my car. That way it doesn't tip over. When I get home, I take that right out and take it over to the sink so that it doesn't spill and isn't gross. And there will be a whole nother video on how to clean your supplies. But your brushes and your cups have water, right? So you need to be able to take care of them and not leak all over your car. All right, let's get to this fun part of the press and seal. So about, I don't know, 2 years into our business, I adamantly loved pallets, but I was washing them all the time. And so we discovered press and seal, which is the best tip for you to be able to use. So you just take press and seal and you cut it up and you put it on here and you just press it in. And there you go. Does it take extra time? Yes. Is it still a little bit of plastic on the environment? Yes. Is it a little bit of extra cost? Yes. But it's about the experience for me. And so you may not be into that, and that's okay. That's what's great. It's your business. You get to do what you want to do. Paper plates may be your jam, and that's fine too. All right. The last thing I have on here is miscellaneous fun and photo props. I don't want to overwhelm you if you're starting your business out. You don't need to do all the things all the time right away to start your business, but over time, having fun props and photo props, you also become the photographer at the party. Everyone else is painting. You've just demonstrated things. They're having a great time. You are also the photographer. So you want to get really good at taking pictures and having props. Like we always have our Bob Ross wig, or we have fun sunglasses, or we have boas, or we have like at Christmas, especially, I like to bring Christmas props. So those are some supply things for you. Here's the screen where I was going to talk to you about budget friendly, because if you're just getting started, listen, this is how I started. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had cashed out my 401k to which wasn't even very much money. I think it was like 3 or 4 months worth of money to figure out my life. And and I didn't have a lot of money to go buy a lot of supplies, right? And when you're starting a new business, sometimes you're like, I need to make money. I don't have a lot of money to spend, right? So there are some budget friendly tips, but you got to take yourself serious. If you're starting a business, you do have to make an investment sometimes. And that's what I love about paint parties is your brushes, your easels, your aprons. It's an investment. You're not going to buy it over and over again, right? So a couple of tips to start out to buy your supplies. First of all, if you're just starting, you could literally book a party like today. Today is January 3rd. You could book a party for January 25th, right? 25 days away. You could start selling tickets, sell 10 tickets. 10 tickets at $35, that's $350. You take that $350, you're gonna have some credit card fees, right? Depending how you process that. But you could easily go buy a lot of your setups and supplies, right? So you might not profit that first party, but you can make money. You can get a lot of these brushes, easels, all the things very quickly to be able to start. The other thing is starting, like I said, with paper plates, paper cups. Don't start with aprons right away. It could be your first party with your friends, right? Gather some, go to the thrift store. Maybe you'll find some aprons there. Investing first. So when you do have the money to spend, you got to buy the brushes, right? You can go buy the cheapy brushes to get started, of course. But if you're ready to start investing, you want to buy brushes. And I'm not just telling you that because we sell them. I'm telling you this because you want to have good brushes to be able to start. And whether you buy them from us, whether you buy them 50% off at Michael's, which Michael's doesn't do a lot of 50% off anymore, but they do sell in bulk for like 20% off, which is great. So invest first in brushes, then begin to build into aprons and easels, right? You're trying to get that experience started, and those things are going to last you, and you can also resell them. You know, we've had a lot of, because people do this part-time while their kids stay home, they've built up their kit and then they've sold their kit because guess what? They're not doing paint parties anymore necessarily. And so those things, brushes, aprons, easels, you can probably go sell on Marketplace. Oh, there's the link there for the artsy brushes, but I will also post them. Let me see if I stop share. I could probably get over to the chat box. I don't know if anyone is chatting. I don't know if anyone else is up this early watching me live. Yep, I don't see any comments, but okay, if you are watching live, you should comment and then maybe I'll see you. I do see a few of you watching live. All right, back to some of those budget friendly tips. The other tip I have is starting with, 5 setups, 10 setups, whatever party you want to start with, starting out small. 10 to 12 setups is great. And then, like I said, every time you have a party, that's like reinvest some of that money, take some more of that money. Back in the day, I don't know, I would have to calculate the cost, but I want to say it's about $20 per setup, maybe 25 per setup. And if you're asking or want to know how long your paint lasts, it lasts pretty long. And that's why I like to dispense my paint so my customers aren't wasting it all. And now that I'm just full screen here, I just want to show you my bag a little bit more. This was a logo that we had. It's like that utility type tote. You can totally find one online. And it has all these pockets. So you can see I have all my pencils in here. I have my scissors and my Sharpie. And I have, oh, there's my sunglasses. I was like, where did my sunglasses go? And so, yeah, so that's my utility tote. And then the other thing I wanted to show you full size was the palette and the press and seal, right? So you just kind of wrap that. All right. Other budget friendly tips on Sunday, which this is live, you're going to watch it recorded, whatever, but in our library of videos, you can come back. I will be live on Sunday for those who want to watch live. I will be talking more about painting on wood planks and how, one, it's a surefire type of event, right? Because you don't have to, if you're nervous about painting, step by step, wood parties are great. You let people go on their own, but wood planks are great because it elevates the experience. The customers feel like they're painting on a better surface than a canvas. If customers have done painting and sipping before, painting on wood is like a different experience. So that's also good. But then you don't have to buy easels, right? And now you can just paint on wood. You can also buy less brushes if you're doing painting on wood. You don't have to use a ton of detailed brushes. So that's also a great way to get started. Now, the other thing about having a lot of events and the great thing about having buddies in the business, I have a ton of friends. I mean, my best friends are do paint parties. That's how that's not how we became best friends. We just started doing this business together. But I have a 200-person party coming up this month in January, and I will be borrowing supplies from them. So I will borrow their aprons, I will borrow easels and brushes. And so label all your stuff, first of all, and don't be afraid to get a friend to do this with you, because two doing this and sharing, and maybe you have to babysit each other's kids, you can get total, we call it hustle, right? You're going to hustle to get this done. And then, like I said, that last tip I have here on my screen is to use a deposit to buy more setups. So if you end up booking a large event, it is not out of line for you to ask for a deposit that is non-refundable. And then that deposit is what you use to buy those supplies. So that's that. And then the last thing, I do want to share my screen to show you this last slide that I have for us, is what we call a paint party checklist. And so we have always had this checklist from day one. Well, I wouldn't say from day one. We used to just scratch it on paper. But when we started teaching and training people how to do painting parties, we provided this checklist. And so it's a great way for you to document every single party that you have. It is January, which is tax time. Oh, yeah. No, well, April is tax time if you're a procrastinator. But for those of you in January, we do some tax tips, because in your business, obviously, you got to file business taxes. It can be overwhelming. So when you have your paint party checklist, you see here up at the top right corner, you write down your mileage, you talk about your painters, you write down all your payments. These are like your receipts. You file these away digitally, electronically, whatever. And this also helps you at tax time to figure out all your events that you had. Now, but this is also just the planning. This helps you plan the entire event from start to finish. And it also has that packing list here, which is here in the yellow section. So we call this the party checklist. It's helpful so that you know when you're going to pack your supplies and things like that. And of course, this checklist is available for our members who are part of Artsy and who have done some training, but you can make your own checklist as you're getting started and you are thinking about joining the association. And if you ever decide to join the association, enrollment is open this month in January, and we charge $297 for our membership. It's an all access, all year round pass. You don't have to pay any extra fees or anything to us for any extra workshops or training, downloads, flyers, artwork. It's less than $25 a month, and you get over 500 paintings in the gallery. You get checklists like the one that you saw. You get a supply buying guide, and you get more insider videos that we provide, and you also get monthly business bundles, and we have different social media graphics, all sorts of goodies when you need help to start up your paint party business. And so for those of you who are already doing this business as well, maybe you're watching, you wanted some extra tips. There's not a lot of supplies that change in our industry. It might change by painting type, or maybe trying something new like watercolor, or trying modeling paste. Those are some fun things. I love to try new products with my customers. And we are having what we call Inspire Your Heart with Art. It's a workshop on January 31st and February 1st, where we will the theme is where art meets story, and you can join. And I actually just priced it. I will be uploading it here in a couple days, but it's $37, and it's a 2-day live online conference, and it's a virtual conference where we'll be painting live, and you can try some new products. You can actually see this painting right here. It's the truck. You can kind of see it. We painted that last year for Inspire Your Heart with Art, and it's one of my favorite paintings. So anyway, let me know what questions you have about supplies, and I hope to catch you on a live coming up. If you're watching the recording, I hope you have a great day and that you're looking forward to creating a life you love using art. Talk to you soon. Bye.